Imagine a married couple living what most people would call a successful life. Both have solid careers. One works in digital marketing, earning around $65,000 a year. The other works in technology, bringing home roughly $70,000 annually. Together, their household income exceeds $130,000 per year. On paper, that sounds impressive. Most people would assume they're financially comfortable. They should be steadily growing their savings, investing for retirement, taking family trips, and feeling confident about their future. But reality tells a different story. Every month feels tight. Unexpected expenses create stress. Their savings account isn't nearly as large as they hoped it would be. When something goes wrong, a medical bill, a vehicle repair, or a home maintenance issue, it often ends up on a credit card. Both partners work hard. Very hard. Their days are packed with meetings, deadlines, commuting, responsibilities, and endless tasks. By the time evening arrives, they have little energy left for each other, and despite all their effort, they constantly ask themselves the same question: where is all our money going? What's frustrating is that they followed the traditional blueprint. They pursued higher education, they built careers, they got married, they purchased a home, they made responsible decisions, they did what society told them. Successful adults should do, yet financial security still feels just out of reach. If you've ever looked at your household income and wondered why life feels harder than it should, you're not alone. In fact, millions of families experience exactly the same struggle, and the explanation isn't simply overspending, it's something much deeper. For decades, people have been told that having two incomes is automatically better than having one. The logic seems obvious. If one person earning $60,000 can support a household, then two people earning $60,000 each should have an enormous advantage. After all, more income should mean more freedom, more savings, more opportunities, more security. At least that's how the story goes. But what if that assumption isn't entirely true? What if earning more doesn't automatically create financial stability? What if the very thing that appears to improve a family's finances can sometimes make them more vulnerable? This idea surprises many people because it challenges one of the most accepted beliefs about modern life. Yet when you examine how household finances have evolved over the last several decades, a fascinating pattern begins to emerge. Years ago, many middle-class families operated on a single primary income. The earning parent covered most household expenses while the other parent managed responsibilities at home. Life wasn't luxurious, but many families could still purchase a home, raise children, handle basic expenses, and put away some savings. Most importantly, they had something many modern households lack: financial breathing room. If the primary earner lost their job, there was often another option available. The non-working spouse could enter the workforce if necessary. That potential second income acted as a safety net. It wasn't part of the everyday plan, it was a backup plan. Today, things look very different. In many households, both adults work full-time from the beginning. The backup plan is no longer sitting on the sidelines, it's already in use, and that's where the hidden risk begins. Because when both incomes become necessary to support everyday life, the household loses flexibility. The mortgage is based on two incomes. The car payments are based on two incomes. The lifestyle is built around two incomes. The monthly obligations expect two incomes. Everything works perfectly as long as both paychecks continue arriving, but life rarely follows a perfect script. People get laid off, industries change, health problems occur, family emergencies happen. Children need additional support, parents grow older and require care. Unexpected events are not exceptions to life, they're part of life. And when a household depends entirely on two incomes to function, even one disruption can create enormous pressure. That's why many families earning six figures still feel financially fragile. The issue isn't always a lack of income, sometimes it's a lack of margin. A household can earn a large amount of money and still be vulnerable if every dollar is already committed. Income alone doesn't create security. The gap between income and expenses creates security, and that's a distinction many people overlook. Think about it this way: two families could earn exactly the same amount of money. One family spends nearly everything they earn, the other spends significantly less than they earn. From the outside, their lives may appear similar, but financially, they live in completely different worlds. One family depends on every paycheck, the other family has option, and in personal finance, options are often the most valuable asset of all. Let's take a closer look at where the second income actually goes. Most people focus on gross income. They look at the total number on paper and assume that's the amount available to improve their lives, but household finances don't work that way. What matters isn't how much money comes in. What matters is how much money remains after everything else takes its share. Imagine a household where one partner earns $75,000 per year and the other earns $55,000. Together, that's $130,000. Sounds like plenty of money. But let's follow that second income and see what really happens. Before that paycheck reaches your bank account, taxes remove a significant portion. Federal taxes, state taxes, payroll taxes. Depending on where you live, a large percentage disappears immediately. The second income often feels much smaller once deductions are accounted for. Then come the costs that exist specifically because both adults are working. If children are involved, childcare becomes a major expense. Many families spend thousands of dollars every year simply to make it possible for both parents to remain employed. For some households, childcare becomes one of the largest expenses in the entire budget. Then there are transportation costs. Two careers often mean two commutes, more fuel, more maintenance, more wear and tear on vehicles, sometimes even an additional car payment. And the spending doesn't stop there. Something interesting happens when both adults are working long hours. Time becomes scarce. When time becomes scarce, convenience becomes expensive. After a long day, cooking from scratch feels difficult. Ordering takeout becomes easier. Hiring services becomes easier. Paying someone else to handle tasks becomes easier. None of these decisions are unreasonable, they're understandable, but they add up slowly and quietly. A few convenience purchases here, few convenience purchases there. Over the course of a year, they can represent thousands of dollars. This creates an important realization. The value of a second income isn't always equal to the number on the paycheck. The true value is whatever remains after all the additional costs required to support that income. For some families, the number is much smaller than expected, and yet many households build their entire lifestyle around the larger number. That's where the real danger appears. Banks don't care whether your income feels secure. They simply calculate what you qualify for. A lender sees two incomes and approves a larger mortgage. Dealerships see two incomes and approve larger vehicle loans. Financial institutions assume both incomes will continue indefinitely. But life doesn't make those guarantees. A mortgage payment doesn't become smaller if someone loses a job. A car payment doesn't disappear because a family emergency occurs. The obligations remain. That's why so many families feel trapped despite earning respectable incomes. They aren't struggling because they lack earning power. They're struggling because their financial commitments expanded to match their earning power. The moment income rises, expenses rise alongside it. A larger house, a newer vehicle, more subscriptions, more obligations, more recurring bills. Over time, the household becomes dependent on maintaining the same income level forever. And that's an impossible standard. Nobody can guarantee perfect employment for decades. Nobody can guarantee perfect health. Nobody can guarantee that every aspect of life will proceed exactly according to plan. The strongest financial position isn't created by maximizing what you can afford. It's created by maximizing what you can survive. There's a huge difference. Many people ask, what's the most house I can buy? A better question is, what's the smallest mortgage that still allows me to live comfortably? Many people ask, how much car can I qualify for? A better question is, how much transportation do I actually need? Those questions sound simple, but the answers can completely transform a family's financial future because every dollar that isn't locked into fixed expenses becomes flexibility, it becomes freedom, it becomes resilience, it becomes a buffer against life's inevitable surprises. Think about two households earning the exact same income. One spends nearly everything, the other intentionally keeps expenses lower than necessary. When a setback occurs, which household sleeps better at night? Which household has options? Which household can make decisions without panic? The answer is obvious. Financial strength isn't measured by how much you earn, it's measured by how long you can remain stable if something goes wrong. That's the hidden difference between income and security. Income creates opportunity, but margin creates stability. And stability is what most people are really searching for. The challenge is that modern culture encourages the opposite approach. Every raise is viewed as permission to upgrade. Every promotion becomes an excuse for bigger expenses. Every increase in income is immediately absorbed by lifestyle expansion. The result is predictable. People earn more but never feel wealthier. They work harder but never feel secure. They climb higher yet somehow remain stuck in the same place financially, not because they're irresponsible, not because they're bad with money, but because nobody taught them the importance of protecting their margin. And once you understand that concept, you begin looking at money very differently. You stop asking how much you can spend. You start asking how much flexibility you can preserve. That's where real financial confidence begins. So what does a smarter approach actually look like? It starts with a simple shift in thinking. Instead of building your life around the maximum amount of money your household can earn, build it around the minimum amount you need to live well. That distinction sounds small, but it changes everything. Most households make financial decisions based on their best-case scenario: two steady incomes, no interruptions, no emergencies, no major life changes. But the families who build lasting wealth tend to do the opposite. They prepare for reality, not perfection. They understand that life is unpredictable, jobs change, industries evolve, health issues arise, priorities shift. And because of that, they leave room for uncertainty, they create financial breathing space. Think about a family earning $130,000 per year. One path is to immediately upgrade everything: a larger home, new vehicles, higher monthly payments, a lifestyle that consumes nearly every dollar. The other path is less exciting in the beginning. The house is slightly smaller, the cars are reliable rather than impressive. The vacations are modest, but something powerful happens. The gap between income and expenses begins to grow. That gap becomes savings. Those savings become investments. Those investments become freedom. At first, the difference isn't obvious. From the outside, both families appear successful, but fast forward 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, and the results begin to separate dramatically. One family is still dependent on every paycheck. The other has built a financial cushion large enough to absorb setbacks. One family feels trapped by obligations. The other has options. And options are what money is really supposed to buy. Money isn't just about purchasing things. It's about purchasing flexibility, the ability to make decisions without fear, the ability to say no when necessary, the ability to take opportunities when they appear. Imagine one partner wanting to change careers, or start a business, or spend more time with children, or care for an aging parent. For many households, those choices feel impossible, not because they lack desire, but because their financial structure can't support the change. Every bill depends on maintaining the current system. Every obligation requires the same level of income. Every month becomes a race to keep everything running. That's not freedom, that's dependency. And unfortunately, millions of people mistake dependency for success. They assume that because they're earning more, they're getting ahead. But higher income doesn't automatically create a better financial life. What matters is what that income allows you to do. Can it provide security? Can it create choices? Can it reduce stress? Can it help you build a future that isn't entirely dependent on your next paycheck? If the answer is no, then a larger income alone won't solve the problem. The solution isn't necessarily earning more. Sometimes the solution is protecting more of what you already earn, because every dollar that remains under your control increases your flexibility. Every dollar invested creates future opportunities. Every dollar saved strengthens your position. And over time, those small decisions compound, just like investments compound. The families who ultimately achieve financial stability aren't always the highest earners. Often they're the ones who refuse to allow their expenses to rise as quickly as their income. They resist the pressure to constantly upgrade. They understand that appearances and wealth are not the same thing. A large mortgage isn't wealth. An expensive car isn't wealth. A bigger paycheck isn't wealth. Wealth is the ability to handle life's challenges without panic. Wealth is having enough reserves to weather uncertainty. Wealth is being able to make decisions because you want to, not because you have to. That's the lesson many people never learn. They spend years chasing bigger incomes while ignoring the habits that actually create financial security. But once you understand the difference, your perspective changes. You stop viewing every raise as spending power. You start viewing it as an opportunity to strengthen your future. You stop asking, what can we afford? And start asking, what kind of life gives us the most freedom? Because at the end of the day, financial success isn't about maximizing consumption, it's about maximizing control over your life. The families who understand this aren't necessarily richer than everyone else, but they're often calmer, more resilient, more prepared, and far more secure. Not because they earn the most, but because they've protected something incredibly valuable. Their margin, their flexibility, their ability to adapt when life inevitably changes, and in a world where uncertainty is guaranteed, that may be the greatest financial advantage of all. If you found value in this video, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel for more financial insights, money tips, and wealth building strategies. See you in the next one.